God, I'm good at this soundboard. I'm already good at this soundboard. You've got two horny noises, and then two sarcastic noises. One
I got the noises you told me to get.
Yeah, you need to go beyond what I say. You need to...
So you gave me a job. Great. Think for me.
It's romantic when she says it, and he thinks for the both of them.
For all of us.
For Britain. No. Not Britain.
For Britain. For England, Rick.
Do it for the Queen.
Welcome to Load Bearing Beams. See, oh, what the fuck?
Matt gave me a laugh. Nope. Matt gave me a soundboard.
And you're deploying it right away.
I went right in. Okay, so you're Matt Stokes.
I'm Matt Stokes.
And I'm Lacey Roth.
This is a podcast hosted by people who love each other.
Clearly. Very much.
Sometimes. And we talk about the movies that we love.
A Load Bearing Beam is a movie from your past that you have some distance from, that you haven't seen in a while, and that you're going to show to someone whose opinion you trust. And it's a little bit nail-bitey. Who knows? Maybe your tastes have changed. Maybe they used to be shit, but you do care if the other person likes the movie. And if you do care, then that means that movie is a load-bearing beam. It is essential to your foundation. We have stretched that definition, but not today. Casablanca is...
Well, but it's a movie we've both seen, and
True.
I've seen it, in the past few years. But here's the thing. You sometimes joke on this show that I'm faking it when I say I like old movies.
Oh my God. And every time you bring that up, I tell you that nuh-uh.
So but you don't watch a ton of classic Hollywood movies. So there is that tension. Is Lacey going to enjoy watching Casablanca? Is it going to be cheesy? We watched Star Wars a few weeks ago, and you said one of the struggles of watching Star Wars is seeing how much it's been copied and parodied. And Casablanca might be like the ultimate example of that, because so many things from Casablanca have been copied and parodied.
Okay, but Casablanca is just a bunch of fucking cool people. Like, it's cool.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's nothing but interesting one-liner people living on the edge, trying to just getting by, scrappy, smart, witty, rich people. Yeah, it's just full of adults. Star Wars is the opposite.
It is full of adults. That's
snot-nosed children.
Yeah, I guess. So that's why we like it, because it's full of adults. Star Wars full of snot-nosed children. But just right off the back, you enjoyed it, right?
Oh, yes.
We'll talk about the first time I tried to get you to watch it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so sometimes we stretch the definition. It's not like I went into this thinking, I hope Casablanca's good. I know it's good, but how's it going to play for us?
Right. You were nervous when you showed me Citizen Kane. And I think you're more nervous for me, not for the movie. You already objectively know it's good. It's already proven itself and withstood the test of time. I hope Lacey is well-rounded enough, open-minded enough, unstuck enough to appreciate something from a completely different time with different sensibilities, possibly.
But
you hope that for me.
But the great thing being, and this movie probably has it more than others, is you see we are still the same. People are still the same. They have the same struggles and they go through the same things.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to know about the past, and I don't know that I knew it until you and I really got into, we've always been into movies, but like discussing them thoroughly, probably not. And you love, not Blast from the Past, Back to the Future too. And one of the reasons you like it is because it just so clearly shows like there wasn't an age and time where people and young people didn't like sex.
Yeah, well, that's the first movie more than the second movie. Because you just said part two.
Oh, sorry. Norman Rockwell might have painted a different picture for what it was like 20, 50 years ago, whatever it is. But we all had the same urges, desires, and varying amounts of shame around those things. Mm-hmm. And anyway, it helps you see older generations that maybe you just like, okay, old person, get out the way. You're being very slow in this line or in the street or whatever. But like it helps I've always liked old people, but not everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a fucking shame. Anyway, movies like this just can help like fully lived lives happen before I appeared on this earth.
This thing I think about all the time, this diary written by a Jewish man who experienced the Holocaust, Victor Klemperer, I believe is the name. It's his diary of life during the Nazi regime, and it starts in 1933 when things are just starting to trouble seems to be a brewing.
Right.
The very first diary entry is he's like, the house is too cold, we don't have enough money, there's too much to do, too little time. It is he just lists a bunch of complaints that are like, these are the complaints I have every single day.
And there's a scene in Casablanca that's like so realistic where it's like things are shutting down, things are different, people aren't working per se. France is being invaded, but it takes more than one day for it to happen. So like it's just three young adults hanging out in a bar that I guess they ran or that they just were at a lot. I assume that Rick and
I don't know.
Richard and Sam worked there as well. I mean, I'm sure that was their dynamic, their whole relationship. That's how they act. But it's like, there's no customers here, but what are we going to do? Let's just drink and we'll look out the window and wait for it to be our turn to react, because our turn isn't exactly now. And I don't really have a plan for what to do instead of wait. I mean, they do have plans, but that there's time to observe it is wild. Like, I don't think you think of an invasion as something that takes a long time. You're just like, well, let's see how invadey this is. I don't know. How successful are they going to be? Maybe we don't need to go anywhere, guys.
The circumstances change. The point of bringing up the diary is like the circumstances change, style changes, language changes, but people feel the same things no matter when they live. They have stresses and petty gripes and complaints and hopes and dreams and jealousies and
cognitive dissonance and distance from what it isn't clear how much of a big deal what you're experiencing or living through is until there's some distance. Except for like January 6th, where like everyone was like, this is history.
Well, they even point out in the flashback to Paris, they point out like, we're like falling in love as the world ends. And that like supercharges the experience they're having.
It's like, hurry up. Right. Can't divergent.
And like, maybe this wouldn't have happened if the country weren't being invaded by Germany right now.
Right. It's like if Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves on the speed bus, they have a beautifully romantic ending where they are going to date now. But it's like, but what if at the end of that, it actually turns out that Sandra Bullock was married the whole time and her husband's there because she's been on the news, takes her into his arms, and they go away. And then one day they all run into each other again at like a resort where they can't really get away from each other for a little while.
That'd be fun.
Well, but it's like, oh, that those supercharged feelings are there. I still feel something about you. I'm still connected to you. But it probably does make the most sense for me to just go back home with my husband where things have been normal and not supercharged and just steady. You're still going to get that rush of like, oh, you're my hero, Keanu. Ooh. And sorry, I did that. And it still isn't the best idea to run off with Keanu.
We did Dirty Dancing a few weeks ago, and you had the panic attack of maybe Johnny and Baby shouldn't end up together. I've seen Casablanca, 40 times. This was the first time where I'm like, wait a minute.
This was the right,
It's not just that it makes the sense because you're a part of his work, the things that keep on go, the thing that keeps him going, which maybe is a flaw of the movie that you don't actually know if that's true.
Right.
But yeah, this was just
the right move.
Who knows what they would be like in a normal world together.
They've yet to live a normal day even once. And with her not in mourning of Laszlo in some regard. And if she did run away with Rick this time, she'd be mourning Laszlo in a different way.
Yeah.
She'd miss him.
Yeah, that's why I find it moving. You're going to regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
Yes, it's such a good... You're right. On the first, maybe one or two, I think this is my third time seeing it, watchings of this movie, because that line is so famous, I let it just kind of go in one ear now. What's happening? Drink.
But think about what it means.
And this is the first time I did. And I remember being very sad about the ending the first time, and maybe the second, if there was a second, and this isn't the second. But this one, I was just like, God, that feels right. And it's a happy ending. I love that he's going to go to some other freaking place with this delightful scamp that he's been palling around with. Anyway.
So we've had, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. There's so much to dive into here with Casablanca. I'm delighted. It seems like we both had a good time watching. A lot of stuff to talk about. If you haven't seen Casablanca, people, and I always pronounce it Casablanca, not Casablanca. I don't know why.
Are you wrong? I'm drawing a
Bogart says Casablanca. Some other characters do. I'm sure Casablanca is closer to the way you're actually supposed to say the name of a city in Morocco. Anyway, you should watch it. Even if you don't like classic Hollywood movies, black and white movies, everyone likes this movie. You will like this movie. First of all, though, we have to talk about what we're going to do next week.
Oh, fuck. What are we doing next week?
Well, listener choice. Bringing back an old type of episode, listener choice, by talking about
Stitch and Storytime on one of my mutuals on TikTok said this would be a load-bearing beam for her, and I just got the VHS and I said, hell yeah, listener's choice.
And that movie is
Robin Hood,
Prince of Thieves from 1991. Yeah, the Kevin Costner. Did he even direct it? Oh my God. I've never seen this movie. I don't know much about it.
There's no celebratory noise on I'm sorry, Matt made me a soundboard and there's no celebratory noise. There's only sad ones and creepy ones, which I love. But we just did something happy. We're listener's choice. And I went like, yeah. Oh, I know. I was hoping it'd be some applause in there. It's not. Okay, sorry. I will get used to the soundboard and it won't get annoying at all, everyone.
1991, not directed by somebody named Kevin Reynolds. Not Kevin Costner. This is probably one of those things where Kevin Costner actually directed it.
He's like, we're going to call you Kevin. My name's Barry. Kevin Reynolds.
Seems like a thing he would often do is he'd get unhappy with the director and then just kind of push him aside and be like,
really?
The cause is in charge now. So yeah, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, listener choice.
Good poster.
Yes. Watch it now on television.
To
prepare for our next week's episode.
On Tulaflix.
Yeah.
Tula.
Casablanca. The first time, Lacey, what do you remember about the first time you watched this movie?
Being sad about the ending, so it kind of made me less excited to watch it again because I remember I end up really buying into their. It's so nice and neat and tidy. I mean, they made an affair, not an affair. You know, but it really did seem like this woman for just a period of time lived on an alternate timeline and fell in love on two of the timelines, and then those timelines merged. So it truly felt unfair for her to have to choose. So I just remember that being a real bummer, and that the whole movie is making you feel those things. So I was like, do I want to watch it? Interestingly, and it's the point of the fucking movie, the political stuff, the Nazi stuff, in one ear and out the other. It all just was like the cucumber to put the ranch on, and the ranch being Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. Mm-hmm. So it was just a vehicle to get them together, to get them stuck together, to make something emotionally charged and full of adrenaline and decision making. It is a quick, the pace, everything is happening. There's never a scene where there's not someone trying to figure out how to get away from the place they're in.
This movie, it's an hour, 42 minutes. It packs so much in. It is extremely, just from a screenplay perspective, so economically told. It has to teach you so much stuff about this world.
Yeah.
Get through it all so fast, and it is done beautifully. Do you remember? I mean, the first time we watched it you watched it with me, and it was on our first date. I was like, you're going to watch? You've never seen Casablanca.
God, you were teacher mode immediately.
I know. Yes.
I'm going to freaking culture you bumpkin ass.
I know. Time Machine, I would advise my younger self, don't do this.
Yeah, why don't you just let Lacey be Lacey? She's got a ragtag energy, I'm digging.
It's just not a good thing to do on a date. That's like a 25th date.
No, I was glad to know where I stood.
What?
In the freaking outback, or where do you keep country people?
In
the
outback,
woodshed.
Yeah, in the outback.
Sorry.
In the TGI Fridays.
I'm kidding.
But wait, what do you mean where you stood?
Well, that you thought that I needed some refining, that I was a diamond
in the rough.
No, I thought
like this will be a romantic thing we could do. The most romantic movie ever made, Casablanca.
Well, and the next time someone brings up Casablanca or someone quotes it, Lacey won't be a freaking idiot and embarrass me.
All right. I mean,
that's not how you meant it.
That's not how I meant it. Yes, I know I do have a latent gotta culture you tendency that I have really crushed down to.
You have. I think
to a pulp.
Oh, I mean, it's not even, it doesn't exist. I think you've really figured out the things that just aren't going to stick with me. You know, I think you did a lot of molding with my music taste in the very beginning, which I appreciate. Ugh. You opened me up to like so many bands I fucking love now. But at some point you did stop introducing new things like music, because music is something I hardly ever find I'm not a person who knows how to fit it in. So it's like, you can't, I'm just stick with what I know. So I appreciate that you know the right books to tell me about, you know the right songs to let me know about, you know my bandwidth for those things.
Didn't always, like
small
when we had to watch Star Wars early in the relationship. And that's why eventually we started this podcast to talk about all that shit. So do you remember anything about how you experienced it that time?
Can I just say, because this comes up over and over on the podcast, about how I give Matt a hard time about his love of classic movies and black and white movies, and I accuse him of being a liar. That is all just like an automatic defense for me feeling like I wasn't good enough to be your girlfriend in the beginning, of like feeling like I wasn't smart enough. I didn't have a degree. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to like a fancy North Shore school or anything. And I mean it. And you had so many cultural reference points and political things that you knew that I did not know. And so I just, gotta razz you. Razz? Is that
today? You still have to razz me about it?
I don't mean to. It's a little making fun of you for classic movies is a low bearing beam of mine. And
okay.
No. It's a default defense that I forget I don't need it anymore because I'm cultured as fuck.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yes, you bought opera tickets last night.
God, I'm good at the soundboard. I'm already good at the soundboard. Fuck yeah. You've got two horny noises and then two sarcastic noises. One
I got the noises you told me to get.
Yeah. You need to go beyond what I say. You need to.
So you gave me a job. Great. Yes, I don't have enough going on. Think for me.
It's romantic when she says it and he thinks for the both of them.
For all of us.
For Britain. No. Not Britain.
For Britain. For England, Rick.
Do it for the Queen.
The movie that got me into classic movies was Casablanca. Here's the story. In 9th grade, in high school, at that fancy North Shore High School, Mandeville High School, public school.
You had a
one butler.
Embroidered backpack with your fucking name on it.
Everyone did.
Yes! Because it's fancy.
But that came with the LL Bean backpack.
You had an LL Bean backpack. I had a JanSport that was see-through because of all the guns at my school. We had mandatory see-through backpacks.
Yeah.
Fucking princess. All right, go on, Layla.
At this school, Princess Layla. At this school with my embroidered LL Bean backpack.
And his
I went to my freshman year speech class, and there was a substitute teacher, and she didn't have anything to teach us, so she put on a videotape that was an American Film Institute special on the top 100 movies of all time. Oh. And I was mesmerized. I was like, my list brain was like, wait a minute, there's like an order to this. There's rules. Okay, great.
There's a way to do this right and not just randomly.
In the top, they get to we basically watch like the top 20, counting down 20, then 19, then 18. They get to number 2. Number 2 is Casablanca. I've heard of Casablanca via The Simpsons. But I'm like, okay, so this is a very important movie. And then number 1 is Citizen Kane. So I ride my bike to the library after school and rent for free VHS tape of Casablanca. Now, it's not like I watched it and my life was transformed.
So It wasn't number 1, but you started there because of The Simpsons? All right.
It seemed like...
Probably didn't realize that The Simpsons had also did a parody of...
But I was aware of jokes on like Family Guy and Friends that Citizen Kane is a boring movie. So I was like, I don't want to start with that.
It's just a pretentious answer to what's your favorite movie. It's related to that kind of person.
For people who haven't seen it.
Exactly, because that movie fucking slaps. Crackles and pops and slaps my ass.
It's not like it wasn't like I listened to the punk rock for the first time and my world exploded. It wasn't like that. I was just like, this is pretty cool. I want to do more of this.
Right. This stuff is accessible. It's not what I thought. It's just...
But it was also confusing. Good. I didn't understand history very well.
What?
I mean,
you didn't come out of your mom with a twin that was the shape of a globe?
I don't think I did any independent history reading. I just liked it in school, but it's not like I was like, oh, I want to learn more about World War II or whatever.
I didn't know. I figured that love started in high school for sure.
No, not till college. I don't think. I don't know.
You had too many friends in high school. You needed some downtime. College.
Not so. So, I start going to the library every day, getting more VHS classic movies and watching them. And then I start watching Casablanca over and over again. It starts to make more sense and becomes more emotionally accessible. I start to learn things about like the occupation, but all like to understand Casablanca itself. And then learn like the setup of the movie doesn't totally make sense. Like there's these magical letters of transit that will get you out of.
Yeah, they make it sound like the hardest thing to do to get out of Casablanca and the easiest thing to do at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's just that if you had these mythical letters, that wouldn't stop the Nazis from being like, I don't care. I mean, but
the Nazis aren't the ones like holding the gate, right?
But they actually are. Like the reality is, if a resistance leader came to an interview with a Nazi, he would just be arrested right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like, well, technically we're in unoccupied France and the people in charge say that you haven't broken any laws, all of that stuff.
Casablanca, Rick's Americana.
Rick's just Café Américain.
Café Américain. Always just seemed like the canteen place in Star Wars, or like the hotel from the John Wick series, or like, it's just we're in total shit chaos. But we can kind of be ourselves here. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be some shenanigans and some fighting and some shooting. But that's just part of the scenery.
But like the Continental and John Wick, it's supposed to be. It's like this neutral ground.
Supposed to be.
There's a long time where I would say Casablanca is my favorite movie. I wouldn't say it anymore. It's my top 5 favorite movies. I think, and there was also a period where I'd kind of like thought, well, classic Hollywood's stupid and cheesy. And
when would that have been?
Like 5 years ago, maybe.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, I wouldn't have been that dismissive, but I think when I probably went 10 years without watching this movie, where in my head I'm like, I bet if you watch it, it'll seem like just really cornball in a way that these movies can. I don't know what I thought. I just hadn't watched it again until 2022. And I watched it. I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. This is the best. There's what could be better than this.
It's good.
And then we watched it last night and same thing. Things I'd never noticed like suddenly popped. The politics, the critique of neutrality, the poignancy of like Victor Laszlo saying I'm Czechoslovakian and Major Strasser says you are Czechoslovakian. Like, no, that doesn't exist anymore.
And for me, in like the nail in the coffin was the end of the movie, but like just all of a sudden I realized, is this the first depiction of a bisexual character in a movie? I mean, it just, the thing about old movies is like everything's kind of coded language. Everything's a much more generalized, quippy, you have to catch the nuances and they happen really fast. I don't know. There were so many moments where I'm like, they are hinting that
Captain Renault, Louis.
Captain Renault.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a bit of a sex predator, yes, but that he likes having sex with men and women. Probably men more, honestly, but and he's definitely infatuated with Rick.
Because I'd always heard that his performance is kind of gay. I've always heard that.
No, it's
and
bi.
Never understood that until last night.
Okay, but I think it's more appropriate to say that it's bi, because we shouldn't dismiss that he enjoys having sex with women, since he might just be talking that up, but he's not shy about saying his feelings for Rick and what he thinks about being around him, and just kind of keeping tabs on him, totally figuring out his habits and what he likes and doesn't like and who he's dating.
Yeah. Well, the line, if I were a woman and I were not around, I should be in love with Rick.
Of course. That's the biggest one. But then I noticed that the woman, the young couple, it's an attractive woman and man, who don't have a lot of money, and Renault has made it clear that he, for his sexual favor, will give them what they need. And then I realized he wants both of them. That whenever they were coming into his office after Laszlo and help me, what is her name?
Ilsa.
Were leaving it whenever he forced them to come in that second day that they were there in Casablanca. They're leaving it, and someone says, "Oh, it seems someone is having an issue with."
No, they say a young lady, and I don't think it's them.
It is because right after that is when she realizes what she has to do, and then she goes and talks to. I mean, unless he's just a really busy guy.
Look, I think there is a very clear queer reading of Rick and Louis.
It's a Humphrey Bogart line. He says he sees the couple, and there's some remark made by her or by Renault that and Humphrey Bogart says, "Oh, he's broadening his preferences or something, broadening." And that anyway, that broadening them, I thought, oh, to like sexual assault, to like making people have sex when they don't want to. But then I realized, no, I think he means to men.
I guess, but it's just in that specific instance, the woman says, like, it's clear to me, I have to have sex with him and I need to hide this from my husband.
Yes.
The husband's not going to be involved at all.
Yes, because it's not her speech. It's what happens in his office, and then a couple of moments around her interaction with Humphrey Bogart. And I'm doing a poor job of. I really wanted to watch the movie this morning because I was like, wait, I caught a thread at the end of the movie that I should have been following the whole time.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, and I mean, I really noticed how much Casablanca is like this sort of mirror world where you shed your old clothing that you had in Europe. Yeah, I used to run a banking house. I used to be a professor. Now
right.
I'm a bartender or whatever.
Right.
You get to reinvent yourself as whatever you want. So that kind of thematically is aligned with that. Is the old rules don't apply anymore. You can be whoever you want to be.
Right. And we're nomads no matter where we end up. No matter where we end up, we weren't from here. We weren't from where we came from. And we haven't been at our homes in years. So we could get back to America, but then it's like you are who you're with. That's why Sam is so important to Rick. And I think that's why it's so important that he's got Louis at the end, that you're my family. You're my home.
Oh.
I know. Like, I mean, when has Rick shown himself at all to say something as sweet as this is going to be the start of a beautiful friendship? That he saves like maybe the kindest line for this guy.
Mm-hmm. It's at the end of his transformation. It's all been a shield. It's been a fake persona. I'm this person who doesn't care and is above all this. So there's no
transformation. It's just he was waiting. He got left at the train station, and in his mind, anyone could do that. He bothered falling in love, and that was the biggest mistake. He stuck his neck out. So when Renault shows that, look, I can put aside my urge to climb to the top and to be in the favor of whoever is in charge, to protect you and to make sure you don't go to jail. So when he lied for him, I think that solidified for Rick, this is a good guy. It made sense for me to be his friend. I should trust him. This guy's in my camp now. Now my like, because Rick seems like impossible to get around his barrier and pet through his defenses. But once you're in there, he is so open and loving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was just waiting for a reason to let them down with Louis.
We didn't do predictions this time. Sorry.
It wouldn't have been this.
It's
gay, guy. Yeah, it wouldn't have been that.
Here's the history of Casablanca. There's so much to this movie, but let's ground it in sort of when people would have gone to the movie theaters in 1942, 43 in America, this is how they would have viewed the world and what they would have known about the context of the movie. So
what you're about to say or what the movie sets up?
Okay. Yeah, because the movie does at the beginning try to let you know all of this, but it is letting people who are experiencing years of news about the Second World War, first over there, now suddenly we're involved, all stuff that it assumes they know. So 1941, the Second World War has been going on in Europe for more than 2 years, and Germany has basically conquered most of Europe. I have this map up here of 1941. The blue, the various shades of blue is everything Germany has conquered. And in 1940,
wow.
France surrenders. The World War II opens with basically Germany on one side versus Britain and France on the other side. The parties that had fought each other 20 years earlier in the First World War. And it's always important when you think about the Second World War to remember that for these people, or for at least the older people, World War I is a living memory.
Yeah.
We just fought this.
We just did this.
And for France in particular, much of the Western Front of the First World War was fought in France, was so destructive.
Right.
So many people dead. And now it's happening again. And we just don't have the will to keep fighting.
Yeah, they don't have the resources. They're small to begin with, right?
They're a big power, but they had been badly hurt by the First World War.
Dunkirk. That's what that movie was about, right?
That's the Second World War.
That's what I said.
It's kind of like the Democratic Party right now. It's like we just defeated Trump, and now we're ground down. I'm like, I just
let him.
Yeah,
just fucking let him.
That's what fills me with dread right now. Is like I can't even get worked up anymore. It's just inevitable. It's just going to happen. We're just going to let it happen. And then
because even if he doesn't happen, there's going to be some kind of fucking outrage and horribleness.
And then years from now, I'll be like, how could we have just sat there and let it just sweep over us? But
right. We're not. I'm going to vote. It's going to be great.
Okay. So that's what's happening. And as a consequence of all of this conquered territory in Europe is refugees just spill out, including from France. The biggest mass population movement in the history of Western Europe happens here. 8 million people in France leave. And one place they go is to France's overseas territory, including Morocco, which was a French colony at the time.
Let me speak for people who aren't history buffs, because that's me. And just like geopolitical, like what happens when a war happens kind of gal that I am. Mm-hmm. Refugees, I know what that means. I guess I'm not totally sure how they happen. Like it's whoever manages to escape from one way or another. It's not people who are allowed to leave, right? Or it's a whole bunch of things. Okay.
It's a whole bunch of things.
So it's like you've got money, get out of here.
Or it could be my house was destroyed, I had nowhere to go. Or it could be they're targeting me because of my political affiliations or my ethnicity.
But the kind of people who end up in Casablanca, is that also a mix? Or is that like pretty much well-to-do people who could afford a boat ride?
I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that these are the people who could afford to get to Casablanca. But the movie also says this is all kinds of people from all over and all different socioeconomic
do they say
and ethnic backgrounds.
I feel like they only say geographically different.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, I mean, because everyone's dressed in their Sunday best. Everyone's looking great. Everyone wants to pretend that they're still doing normal things they'd be doing. So they go to Rick's every night dressed to the nines.
But it might just be that those are the people who go there.
But why not spend any time showing us any of the other people? Is that what the blue parrot's for?
Maybe.
Parrot people.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Okay. I'm sorry. The history. Go on. I'm sorry.
It's a good question.
Okay.
The ultimate place they're trying to get is to North and South America, but they can't get there directly. The Germans won't let them. So you just jump from one place to another, as the opening credits explain. And they're trying ultimately to get to Portugal, which was neutral. Mm-hmm. And from Lisbon, Portugal, you can get on a boat to the Americas. But Casablanca is like the last stop before there. So it's this limbo. It's this place where you just end up and you wait and you don't know what's going to happen.
But you could probably take a little bit of a sigh of relief because you've been hopping around and this is a pretty promising hop to get to. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not the first place. Everyone seems to be arriving here pretty well put together. It's not like they don't look weary from traveling. It's not like, oh, we just got out of the worst thing ever. It seems like we're getting there. Mm-hmm. We're getting close. We're getting close to getting the hell out of all of this.
France at the time, 1940, surrenders after massive German invasion. And what happens to France then is that the northern half of France comes under direct German occupation. The southern half of France is under the control of a new French government that they call Vichy France because it's based in the city of Vichy.
That's what that word means.
And this government is officially free and neutral, but actually is, as we see in the movie and from history, is actually basically a puppet of Nazi Germany.
Okay.
And so this is the government that's controlling the southern half of France and France's overseas territories like Morocco.
Can I ask another civilian question? And the point of a puppet government, aside from just it being something you can be in charge of without it looking like you're in charge of it. Why are you trying to look like you're not in charge of something? Is that so that America or bigger other places don't get involved and get mad at you?
I think
what's the puppeteering
No, I think
for?
the most practical reason is that they want people there to be kept in line and feel like
they have a say.
Yeah. That we're going to get better results if we make French officials do what we want rather than us just skipping the middleman and ruling them directly as we do in the occupied zone.
Less manpower needed if you're having them keep themselves in line because they feel a little bit like they're in a place that's their own.
This is such a giant subject. I'm not an expert.
No, you are.
But like the idea of collaboration, because after the war it was a big deal in France, who collaborated, who cooperated with the Nazis, and there was even like pro-Nazi sentiment in France in the 30s and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
I'm not equipped to tell you all about it.
I truly just wanted to understand puppet government and refugees a little bit more beyond what I know what they literally are. What I don't understand is why
they are, yeah,
or how they come to be necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm asking great questions. If this were a class and you were a teacher, you would love me.
Mm-hmm.
You'd say that I've got a bright future.
I love you. You ask astute questions. Your future is
astute. Oh, I need. There's no applause. There's no applause track.
No applause.
I need an applause track.
All right. As all of this is happening, America is.
I know what I want on my soundboard. I want the Monty Python. Yay. I want that. Okay. All right.
As all of this is happening, the position in America, because again, this is an American movie made for American audiences. America's position is neutrality. Now, again, there's more than 100 million people in America, so it's not like you can sum up the way everybody feels, but probably the most common way people felt was we are sympathetic to Britain and to France, but we don't want to get involved because we don't feel like we're under threat. There's a giant ocean separating us from Germany. Not our concern. And we just fought a war 20 years ago. We don't want to send our boys over to die again. Of course, Pearl Harbor, 1941, forces the issue. America declares war on Japan, and then Germany, which has an alliance with Japan, declares war on America. So now America is involved. The movie Casablanca is set in 1941 before America's gotten involved in the war. And Rick is sort of embodying the idea of American neutrality, of thinking that you're not involved when of course you are. And of course, neutrality really just means I'm going to let the powerful win. You think you think you're not involved, but by not doing something, you're also taking action.
Right. And he might have made his way to New York thinking that's where he needed to be, just to have gotten drafted into the war by the time he got there. You know, I mean, his neutrality would have ended up just getting him right back where he did.
Although, of course, he can't return to his country.
Oh, I forget that there's a whole hullabaloo with that.
So that's the world, the situation of the world at the time, and how people would have viewed this movie. I mean, if it had come out a year earlier, I think it would have seemed way more political, because it would be like they're criticizing the way most of us think. They're criticizing the attitudes that most of us have of being neutral and thinking we don't have to be involved. And by not doing anything, that's just a neutral action when it's not a neutral action. Anyway, Casablanca is like the poster movie for the old Hollywood studio system. It's like what they always say about Casablanca is it was just one of 50 movies that Warner Brothers produced that year. And to them, it was just another movie. They didn't know it was going to be so special. But I found this great book, Inside Warner Brothers, 1935 to 1951 by Rudy Belmer. And what this book does is takes inner office memos from the time.
Oh my God. I love that.
And
it's fuck yes,
so cool because
as people who worked in an office,
it is you realize, oh my God, they're just in like we used to work in law firms, and even the way all right, just let me know, we'll follow up, etc.
Right, you can tell when someone's kicking the can just to get it off their desk.
You're basically reading emails from the past. Studios were not just companies, but they were the physical location you made your movies, and the actors and the directors were employees of the studio. So basically the producer is like, I like this script. Let me go send a memo to somebody who's down the hall. And yeah, you direct this picture. And I'm thinking Bogart, he's available. He'll go do this movie. You can chart the entire development and production of Casablanca this way. And even though what they say about Casablanca is it was just another movie. You can tell from reading the memos they were very excited about it. They knew that this was going to be good.
Is it the chemistry that the cast had together?
They really liked the story, and they really liked Humphrey Bogart.
What had he done? And how tall? He's 5'8", everybody, 5'8".
That's true.
Ingrid Bergman,
I will tell you about Humphrey Bogart in a moment. But at the time, actors and directors were employees of the studio.
Right. They're just like down the hall. Get Jim in accounting to go, that's nuts.
But with the caveat that they could get basically traded to other studios. And so you get memos between studio executives like Jack Warner or Halby Wallace writing to David O. Selznick from a rival studio and saying like, hey, can I get Bergman if I send you to Haviland?
It's Deadwood.
Or it's just like sports, but...
Well, yeah, we're just like trading the talent. Oh, right, sports.
Yeah.
I like my Deadwood reference, brothels.
Halby Wallace is the producer at Warner Brothers who basically shepherds Casablanca. He reads a script for an unproduced play called Everybody Comes to Rick's. He likes it, and so you can see he writes to his screenwriters who are on staff and like, take a look at this play, tell me what you think. And a few people say this could be good. Somebody else is like, I don't like it. But he purchases it. He sends it to Julius and Philip Epstein, who are writers on staff. Another writer, Howard Koch, will later work on the movie. But Halby Wallace is the producer who's sort of best or maybe the creative figure who's most associated with Casablanca. When it wins Best Picture at the Oscars, he's going to get up to stand to accept the trophy, but then his boss, Jack Warner, will push him out of the way and go accept it on his behalf. And this will create a falling out that he was still bitter about 40 years later. I don't think it was on camera. Dang. I think they were just on the radio then. And
then that's when everyone was like, we need to start filming this shit.
When you talk about old Hollywood movies, I mean, directors, especially at the time, were not considered like important. Right. Although you look back at what they did and you realize, oh, they're the ones who are actually making the movie. It's like all somebody like Michael Curtiz did was work with the actors, run the creative department, set up every shot. It's a movie. It's a series of shots. They're the ones doing it all. Michael Curtiz was like a prototypical studio cog. He's just an employee of the studio. But a very good and respected one. He had directed Adventures of Robin Hood and Yankee Doodle Dandy. He was Hungarian born. And I think being, in a sense, an immigrant from Europe, I think gives him an attachment to the material. Humphrey Bogart.
Look at him.
Who was 5 foot.
Can I ask?
8. Yes.
The wardrobe is so cool in this movie. Everyone's just looks great. Did this movie influence the way people dressed, or was it the other way around?
I don't know.
I mean,
I would assume.
I just see a bunch of Annie Halls walking around. Not the look, but like they all look like trendsetters. I mean, were people wearing hats like that all the time, always?
I would assume it's reflecting what's going on because this is not designed to be like a forward-thinking movie. Right. This just make a movie, but it was so popular. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
And like with Humphrey Bogart's popped collar, like he did that. It makes him look taller. Everything he does makes him look a little taller.
Because he's short. He's an inch shorter than Ingrid Bergman. I think every trick would have been used to make him look.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would have been intentional. But yeah, he was 42 at the time. He had a long career as a character actor and villain. But you never would have said this guy's going to be not only a movie star but a romantic movie lead. He looks and sounds so weird. He has a lisp. He got an injury to his throat in the First World War. But 1 year before this, he's in The Maltese Falcon, and that makes him a big star. And then Casablanca just cements it. He's the biggest star in Hollywood. Ingrid Bergman, 1 inch taller than Humphrey Bogart, was 26 years old. She came from the Swedish and German film industries. 1939, she had her big breakout in Hollywood, Intermezzo. And she was traded to Warner Brothers from Selznick Pictures. In the play, her character was an American woman named Lois. But they said maybe she should be a European. A good call. So that's very abbreviated history of Casablanca. And now, the movie opens, and is there a more exciting mixture of like just music and sound and visuals to start a movie? Like only Star Wars.
Fair question. I don't Yes, probably,
Okay.
but it's good. The credits are good.
But yeah,
I feel like I'm in the movie theater getting my news.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the only one in the fucking world that knows the sound that Casablanca
It's
makes
so
when it?
famous. It's by Max Steiner.
Okay.
And yeah, the music, this exciting sort of like desert, sort of Arabic suggesting music segues into La Marseillaise, the French national anthem, and a trick this movie will pull off. A trick this movie will pull off that's very neat is being so patriotic for France but making Americans think they're talking about America. So when you hear like the French national anthem, you're in your head, you hear the Star Spangled Banner. I don't know if that was, that probably was intentional, but it's just a neat trick that we're going to make a movie that's so about being patriotic for France and making you feel patriotic and want to go get involved. The narrator explains the thing with the refugee trails over some stock footage. And then we see that this place is full of vultures everywhere.
I think it's very important for the movie, the line that this man says, the one with the monocle.
Mm-hmm.
What does he say to him?
He's like, he doesn't know what's happening with the arrests.
And it's important.
Do you remember?
No, but it suggests like, I don't know what's going on and I don't want to know what's going on.
Oh yeah, we hear very little. We understand even less.
Right.
And then the pickpocket starts to explain that they're rounding up the usual suspects of what is it? Refugees, liberals, and beautiful young girls from Monsieur Renault.
I'm just trying to think, what did he mean by that? Does he mean that he feels out of control and he doesn't know what's going on and he feels a little helpless? Or does he mean, I don't care to know and give me a drink and right-o?
That's what he means.
He means the second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But also like, I'm kind of amused to know what's going on, but it's like, this doesn't affect me as a rich man with a monocle.
Yeah, well, and he's like having brunch or something, so he just doesn't look like he cares at all. And I'm just, how wealth can separate you from the issues of people who aren't there because of their money.
The pickpocket warns him there's scum,
vultures,
hive of scum and villainy all around. Watch yourself, be on guard, as he literally picks his pocket. It's very funny.
Yeah, I thought it was the waiter. I thought he was the waiter.
Yeah, there's a very complex plot about German couriers who were murdered on a train en route to Casablanca. They had important
catch the train
documents.
part. I'm like, why were they crossing a desert? Just like get on a horse.
Then we see the French police shooting a man who's running away, and he collapses in front of a painting of Marshal Pétain, who's the head of the Vichy French government.
I've never before seen anyone get shot and they go, ow. Like he like grabs his back, like, oh, you got me.
Oh, my backy.
Ooh, like who? I've never seen anyone grab the wound. Like, you got shot. Like, what's this?
Oh, my wound.
Right.
They pull Free France documents off of him. Free France being the French government in exile working for the liberation of France.
Were they planted or that's what he had?
No, that's what he had. They realized, oh, this is a member of the resistance. You have French police officers shooting a French citizen who's working for the liberation of France. So this twisted world. And again, he's collapses in front of this guy, Philippe Pétain, who was basically a Nazi collaborator. And then we see the plane to Lisbon. Everybody looks up. Very good, very economic storytelling to introduce all of this to us in like 3 minutes. And then Major Heinrich Strasser of the Third Reich arrives in an airplane. He's played by Conrad Veidt. This guy, Conrad Veidt.
Actual Nazi?
No.
Oh.
No. And one thing that's powerful about Casablanca is there's so many people in it who left the film industries of Europe because of the war. Conrad Veidt, a German, leaves because of the war. Peter Lorre, who plays Ugarte, he left because he was a Jewish man and Jews weren't allowed in the film industry anymore. He was his face is the inspiration for the Joker because because he was in a movie in the 1920s, I believe, a movie called The Man Who Laughs, and the way his face looks is the model for the original drawings of the Joker in the 1930s. But yeah, he's a very important Nazi commander, and he meets up with Claude Rains as Captain Louis Renault, who is the French prefect of police. I guess there's martial law, and that's why a military guy is in charge of the police. But yeah, Claude Rains, who Bogart was nominated for Best Actor for this movie. Claude Rains got the other acting nomination for this movie as Best Supporting Actor. Yeah, and he is co-MVP of the movie, I'd say, with Bogart.
Which I didn't see that. I found him irritating and like a weasel, and I liked him the whole time. This one, he's playing a complex character.
I love stories where a secondary character is going on their own journey, and you don't kind of notice it until the end.
He also has a way. He's in front of this Nazi commander the whole much of the time, and it seems like that would be very dangerous. I think of Inglourious Bastards, or a scene where, but I understand they're in an occupied place when in those scenes, and this is different. But it seems like it would be just as perilous to just, you don't want to step out of line, you don't want to say the wrong thing, but Renault just is so confident and has such a way of turning a phrase or delivering it in such a way that it doesn't seem like an insult, doesn't seem like you're selling something that's rotten. It doesn't seem like he has a way of vouching for people that just kind of let the commander just breeze right over the fact that Rick just said something really disrespectful, really dismissive. It's like, oh no, Rick's just cool. I don't know. He's just a great mouthpiece, wingman.
You have people in life who just have an innate sense of how to work the room, how to make everybody feel comfortable, how to diffuse any tension while getting what you want.
Yes.
And he's carved out a very comfortable life for himself here as a joyously corrupt official, making money on all these illegal activities, including, gambling and women and stuff. Women are illegal here. But yeah, they talk about the two murdered German couriers. They know who did it, but they're not going to apprehend them yet. They're going to do it tonight at Rick's, because everybody comes to Rick's.
Everybody come around. New entertainment.
Well, what's Rick's? What is Rick's?
It seems huge. Lots of rooms. It's just a place to drink, and I didn't realize that the gambling was separate, but they do show you later that no gambling's in a separate room. I didn't realize it was illegal. Very profitable place. I mean, it's this whole town is a holdover for people who have money, who may or may not leave this place. They need some place to feel normal, some place to spend their money, and to be around other like-minded, or at least people trying to have a good time. That's what this place is. You get the feeling that these people are at Rick's every single night. And this Sam, this delightful man, how's he never hoarse? He just sings and sings. But there's a whole band, and you forget there's a whole band until they show it. You're like, oh yeah, you're not just the...
But he's captivating.
Sam?
Yeah. You can't help but look at him. Dooley Wilson is Sam. Yeah, the world is crumbling. The world is going to hell, and people are all enjoying themselves here. And how ironic. But keep in mind, and Michael Curtiz deserves so much credit, because this is a play basically, and it could feel so staid. It could feel so visually uninteresting. You can imagine yourself just sitting in a theater looking at this set, but he makes it so visually interesting.
They give you so many places in this restaurant to sit in. I mean, it's the entire movie is this restaurant, and he lives above it. So you get to see the bar from different angles. Maybe that's why it reminds me of Deadwood, because the living quarters are above. You look down at the bar, you see what's going on. It feels
it's so Deadwood, and he's an elsewhere engine character. I've made myself sort of an emperor of this tiny little domain.
Because there's so many desperate people in this one place, because I got here first, because I know enough people, and I've cultivated this respect and type of personality, I can thrive here.
Our first shot of Rick, we first see him playing chess. He's a strategist.
Oh,
and apparently Bogart was a big chess player, and apparently if you look at the actual way the board is set up, if you know about chess, which I don't, apparently it means something. It's it says something interesting about him, but I don't know. But if you do know, take a look and
comment below.
Wouldn't you love to just put a big OK in your name on a slip that somebody brings you?
I looked at this, and I know the world's first signature, it was OK, right? I don't
think it was the world's first signature.
Or I mean, the first time that you start signing stuff became a thing. I thought that isn't that something I'm remembering? And it's a president's initials. Who is it?
Old Kinderhook, was
it's a nickname
which
for
fucking president? It was
Roosevelt.
One of those No, it was earlier than that. It was I think between Jackson and who was Old Kinderhook? God damn it.
But I was like, does he think that, or did everyone put okay Lacey, okay Matt, okay? Did everyone just put okay? Or is he not signing? He's saying this is okay. What's he doing?
Martin Van Buren was old Kinderhook. Okay, so he was right after Andrew Jackson. I was right.
Wow.
Here's what, and I looked up what exactly he's signing. It is approving an advance on gambling credits to one of the patrons. That's why he puts okay.
Oh.
They filled it out like, is this okay? Yes, you can do it. You have my authorization to give him this many francs.
Okay.
And then we meet Senor Ugarte.
In my head, this guy was a much bigger part of the movie. It seemed like he was always around, but he's gone pretty quickly. People are they gravitate to Rick. I think it's because he doesn't seem to be political. He doesn't seem to be buddy with anyone at all. He seems to be equally dismissive and distrusting of everyone. But more importantly, he's a staple. He's been here for years. He will be here. He has stakes. This is his establishment. He's not going anywhere. So because he has something to lose and doesn't seem to like anyone in particular, this man who has these magical papers, transit papers, feels the need to put them with him. Like, they will be safe here. I know where to find you. I'm going to live. I'm not going to get caught for this. And I'll be right back for these here transit papers. So he gives them Rick. And then he runs off and gambles. And then
he's just going to go off to have a good time. He's like, I've got these right now. And I guess he expects to get frisked by the police or something. So he's like, you hold on to them for now.
Well, and
when I sell them to these two people later on, who we learn later are Ilsa and Victor.
Well, and he expects to go get drunk. He probably just doesn't trust himself.
Oh, that's a good point.
He's in a pickpocketing place.
The first time you see Peter Lorre in a movie, at least now, you're like, oh, this is the guy that there have been a million parodies. There have been like a million Looney Tunes things, or like the genie in Aladdin. I can't bring people back from the dead.
Oh, I didn't know that was him.
That's who you realize they're all making fun of. Right. Just one of the most amazing, beautiful, memorable character actors. And what a stacked cast Casablanca has, that you have people like this deep in the cast who are only in the movie for 2 scenes, but lurk in your memory. Leaves these letters of transit. These letters of transit, they're magical tickets. No Nazis can question them, which again doesn't make sense. And Ugarte says they were signed by General de Gaulle himself, but General de Gaulle had no authority. He was the leader of the Free France movement, so the Nazis wouldn't respect that anyway. It doesn't matter, but it is a plot hole. So this movie sucks. You get, the power of Peter Lorre as a refugee himself from Germany, from his native Germany.
They have already mentioned a high amount of times in the shockingly small amount of time that Rick, he doesn't drink with anyone. He doesn't sit with anyone. He doesn't patronize he doesn't fraternize with his patrons. He just doesn't. He's the coolest guy ever, and he doesn't give any Fs. And then he goes outside. I don't remember what for. Oh, to see off the girl he's upset and stopped dating.
Mm-hmm. Yvonne.
Okay. And he sees that General Renault is over here sitting outside of his place, and he instantly goes over there and talks with him. And you get the sense that he talks with him all the time. This is just his friend. He also is a staple. Tons of people come and go in Casablanca, and they're erratic and they're not themselves. They're high energy. They're always plotting and figuring stuff out. And it seems like they'd be a lot to be around. It's a weird place to meet new people. They're not doing their best, and they're also not telling the truth. They're also desperate. So it would make sense for someone who is comfortable in this place, who's always in this place, to gravitate to another person who's also comfortable and always in this place and is what he is.
They're the same. They're both exiles in a way who have set up a second life that's very comfortable for themselves. Louis, this is also a good way to get some exposition out about Rick. He says, I've always wondered why you didn't go back to America. But Rick, because he doesn't want to give out any personal information, just shuts everything down with a joke. I came here for the waters. What waters were in the desert? Well, I was misinformed.
Yeah.
And it's like, I also would not pursue these anymore, but they do kind of always talk in code to each other.
The whole movie feels in code.
Yeah, not literally in code, but there's a game that they're playing. We can't give out what we really feel or really want.
They're both so guarded with each other and in this place and in the world for reasons we may understand and not totally understand, that you start to just they understand each other's riddles. If they don't exactly know the meaning, they know what it means in tone. With like, this means stop talking. This means I'm having fun.
Louis says, tonight I'm going to do a very impressive arrest. And also we're going to get the arrival of Victor Laszlo. And Rick isn't, Victor Laszlo, I've heard of him. He's a famed resistance fighter. And Louis is like, well, don't give him any help. Don't help him get to America. And Rick says, well, I stick my neck out for nobody.
And then they make a bet, 10,000 francs, that he gets out. That Laszlo gets out of here.
And I think you want to help him because you have a past, Rick, of helping the underdog. You fought against fascists in Spain and Ethiopia.
This is Louis still trying to piece together this guy he really admires, and how I read it, he has a crush on, has a thing for, and he's just like, don't forget, Rick, I know you. Don't forget, Rick, I get what you're saying. I'm starting to find a pattern. I think I know what you're doing. I already know you, so why keep this wall up, Ricky Poo?
Yeah. Hey, Rick has only been in Casablanca for a year or so. He fled Paris in July 1940, and this is December 1941. So he's done all of this in a very short amount of time.
Who calls him Ricky in this movie?
Louis does.
Yeah. Pet name.
Ugarte gets arrested. The Nazis apprehend him. He runs. He goes up to Rick, begs him, Rick, help me. Couldn't I stuck my neck out for nobody, sir? But right here we see like neutrality doesn't exist. Rick thinks I'm not doing anything. I'm not taking part. But of course you are. You're letting them arrest him. You could have helped him, but you didn't. How
could he have helped them?
Well, just in that once he grabs him, like, what are you doing? You've got no chance. So even like he held him up for a few seconds. But neutrality just doesn't exist. Non-action is action.
Yeah.
Then Major Strasser wants to interview Rick. What is your nationality? I'm a drunkard. Continuing to shoot down everything with a joke to not betray any actual information. And Louis explains he's completely neutral in everything. They think, who's going to win the war? I have no idea. And they can't get him on anything. They can't get him to divulge any political opinions. And then Ilsa and Victor arrive, and we see Ilsa, Ingrid Bergman, give a significant look to Sam. What does this mean? Louis sits down with them, and Victor introduces Miss Ilsa Lund. It's, you go into the movie knowing, or at least I did, because the back of the VHS box says like her husband Victor, and so you don't realize that it's supposed to be a reveal later in the movie that they're actually married, because he presents her. This is Miss Ilsa Lund. We're just supposed to assume she's just his girlfriend.
Oh.
But Louis goes, sits down, talks to them, and then they bring over Sam, the piano player.
They're acting like they don't know each other, but they do know each other. It's all very coy. I mean, not coy, it's just careful. They're all being very careful.
Major Strasser talks to Laszlo, and he says, I'm not under your authority. I'm Czechoslovakian. And he says, you were Czechoslovakian. Now you're a subject of the German Reich. And again, like, based on what's going on in the world today, like that was very, very poignant. I mean, when Russia invaded Ukraine 2 years ago, one of the talking points they used was there's no such thing as Ukraine. Ukrainians don't exist. There's only Russia. They've only ever been Russians. This is a thing that conquerors do, is say like, you don't have an identity. It never existed. You were always my property. Yeah. But Ilsa, when she gets Sam to come over, she has him play as time goes by. And he starts playing for 2 seconds. She's like, sing it, Sam. Well, I was going to get to it.
So
it's starting with a melody.
Right. Okay. This is how songs work, Ilsa.
But what is she trying to do, right? She's trying to lure Rick out, like, immediately?
No, she's trying. She never thought she'd see Sam again. She's not even sure Rick's around. But, yeah, I mean, how else? You don't know if you're going to be away from your husband enough to be like, I know this looks crazy. I didn't get to tell you. Have no idea what's really going on with me or what time of my life that you caught me in. And now you see me here married to this guy. I need to signal to you in some way those feelings were real. That really did happen. We did fall in love. And this song moves me too. I have tears in my eyes because of this song, and this moment of my life meant so much. And how you say all that without any time to say it. There's no time. Everything's so fast.
If this were me and you, I'd be like, play it, Sam. Play Jimmy Eat World Work.
I was thinking that the whole time.
If you only once would let me.
Okay.
Yeah, the Rick storms out and like, what the fuck is going on? Sam, I told you never to play that song. What? And yeah, Ilsa and Rick see each other. It's all over their faces. It's so goddamn good. This is like in Toy Story 4 when Woody and Bo Peep reunite, but they're being held by a child so they can't talk to each other.
Right.
And then Victor shows up, and if there is a criticism, if there is a major weak link of the movie, I'd say it's Paul Henry as Victor Laszlo.
He's not charismatic at all.
It's not just that, but he's just so stiff. He does not seem to, you never know what he's thinking. You never know. Does he care about his wife?
Oh, that's not, I don't think that's true. I think there are lots of moments where he gets to show that later. Although it's not clear, is he keeping her, he's being very understanding. And is it because he really just needs her, but he doesn't totally care that she's not completely loyal to him, because he's not completely loyal to her either. Like she's not number one to him. His cause is number one to him.
But because Rick at the end says you're a part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. I would like one example earlier in the movie of that being so. Cause
I guess it humanizes him. Like if he were to lose his wife and he's known for having a wife, that would matter to the people that
he's not
respect and follow him. Whatever.
They kept it a secret. So what?
But it's not a secret right now.
No, it is even right now.
Okay.
If we saw this is how she helps him, this is the support, the way she supports him, but we don't really, they only tell us, we don't actually see it.
All right.
It's not a giant problem. It's just,
well, but I mean, they do go to the lengths of saying how hard he worked to get her out of 2 different countries.
Mm-hmm. It's just what he says though. I'd like to just see it and see it more in the performance, and you don't.
Well, because we're supposed to be able to detach from him. We have to, or else we'll get too conflicted.
Yeah, it would be nice if you were a little more sympathetic to him, but I know what you're saying. Like you have to be totally on Rick's side because she's a married woman, but it's so clear she loves him, and Victor just doesn't see, like, he seems like, well, if he left her behind, he'd be totally fine. Be like, oh, right. That sucks, but time to get back to the work. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rick starts drinking again. Sam knew this was going to happen. And he's staying up really late, but he just knows Ilsa's coming back to the bar. She's got to explain herself. And so he sits there and drinks until she does show up.
Mm-hmm. When Rick says of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, does that sound like a cliche to you? Or,
yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But he's so goddamn right. Good here. I wonder, I would love, if I had a time machine, I'd love to talk to Humphrey Bogart. What's your process? Where are you emotionally right there? And then he'd beat the shit out of me.
He's like, I'm just drunk. Yeah. I've been drinking.
What do you mean? I'm sad.
I just got thrown with my actual wife and I'm drinking. All right. And then we get the very helpful flashback to their romance in Paris, which is light on details and facts, but so is their connection to each other. They really do they're just instantly attracted to each other, and they keep telling you that it's love, they're in love, they're very in love, 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 love. It feels a little bit like, okay, we got you. You want to fuck. It's okay that you're fucking, guys. You're 2 very attractive people and in a weird situation, but you're in love. Anyway, they show us how tragically for him it ended. And all the unanswered questions and how confusing it was for him to get left in the rain.
It's more powerful to watch it knowing, if you like watching it the second time or watching it knowing
what she was going
what
through.
Happens in the rest of the movie. Suddenly you can see in their final scene together in Paris.
I see it. Yeah. That she's hesitant. She knows she's not going to be.
She already knows that Victor's still alive, but also to know, she says later,
she found out that day.
Mm-hmm. But I realized being with you, Rick, that what I thought was love for Victor was not. It was admiration. It was
right. She's trying to tell him that in the bar.
It was yeah. With you was actual love, but I'm honor and duty bound to this person who I admire so much and who I'm married to. So of course he has to leave. But as we said, it's like this is.
Of course he has to leave.
Of course she has to leave to go be with him.
Right. Right. He just heroically got out of a concentration camp. She can't just like, I'm not, no. You died. So no redos.
You pointed out to me that the phrase concentration camp threw you because you're like, well, he looks fine.
Well, and I know that it's some time has passed, and she does say you were very sick after you got out of the concentration camp. But yeah, of course, to me in my head, with all the time that's passed, concentration camp means a very specific thing to me, and so he just didn't seem like the kind of person that just got out of one, or that you do get out of them very often. I didn't realize that it was something a little more casual and practical.
Not casual.
I mean, it wasn't good, but it wasn't certain death.
To a modern audience, concentration camp means death camps, means the Holocaust.
Us.
Yes.
Yeah.
To audiences in 1942, it'd be like, oh, concentration camps, prison camps, or labor camps.
Prisoner
where they
of war,
send,
POW. Like
where they send POWs.
Cheney.
Our different countries use them. They're old.
But that's actually a good reference. Cheney. Because in that.
You mean McCain?
I do mean McCain, but I'm going to say Cheney one more time. When you talk about McCain, there is a built-in respect for him without even, it's just like it's around him. It's like, I know you're a POW. I know that means something really heroic and crazy, and like you are clearly a really strong person and have your head on your shoulders for you now achieving anything after that having happened to you. So that puts Laszlo in a different light. I mean, it's not like McCain was like rocking around Mr. Charm all the time. He just was a fighter, and that's all Laszlo needs to be, is someone who stands up for stuff.
Yeah, well,
he can fight through things and tall.
He's like making pamphlets. He's publishing the most filthy lies about the Nazis.
I was like, how's he got a print press? He got a Kinko's subscription.
Remember when Trump said he preferred heroes who weren't captured by and people were like, well, this is the end of Trump.
It has
no one will stand for that.
We're so patriotic. Locker room talk.
But Rick and Ilsa in Paris, I've kind of always been ambivalent about these sequences in the movie. I love them now, but it is kind of, you get some bad rear projection of them driving. And
I think
it's charming, but it kind of takes you out of the movie, and it takes you out because you miss Casablanca. I want to get back to Casablanca.
Yeah.
But just the feeling of the world crumbling. The Germans are invading. The Germans are 35 miles away. The Germans will be in Paris tomorrow. And this is when we fall in love. And I mean, I think of like you and me when we first started dating and falling in love. Like, yeah, what if the country got invaded and we had to be separated? How weird. That'd be weird. Means the things that you're experiencing now are like supercharged. Maybe it means you did your romance on 2 times speed. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it means that you're not going to be able to disentangle the weird circumstances with how you feel, and maybe when things are more normal, you won't feel the same way for each other. She shows up back in the present. She shows up at the bar,
and she's got very little time. Again, she's trying to squeeze an entire relationship in these moments, and doesn't want to hurt. Laszlo hasn't yet really told him anything, so she's just trying to. She's in danger for political reasons, sneaking out and coming to this bar, and she's risking a fight with her husband or whatever. And she's hoping to get a sober Rick that she can finally explain everything to. She never thought she'd get this chance. And now she gets to. She starts her story trying to tell him, here's where I was before I met you. But he's selfish and drinking right here, feeling drunk or he is feeling his feelings and thinking of only himself in this moment. So he's just not taking that in. And he says a bad joke and she runs away.
And he says, like, do you leave me for Laszlo, or were there others in between?
Yeah, calling her a hussy.
Yeah, and that really hurts her feelings.
Rude.
It is rude.
All right. And they had a 10 o'clock meeting, and I'm thinking, what time did you go to that bar? Because you're probably so sleepy right now. And this is when they know they're just going to, like, get questioned or just harassed or just annoyed, or like we're always going to have these 10 a.m. fucking meetings here with Renault until we die. But I think this is the first. So the German Majorstrasse is there. I guess just to let him know, like, bitch, you're not leaving. But this is like the first time where Strasser realizes it. Wait. This man's so powerfully charismatic and passionate that it might be bad for him to stay. Mm-hmm. How fucking convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Hey, I'll make you an offer. You can be on the plane tomorrow if you give up the names of your associates."
But he won't.
And, you can do that in exchange for safe passage. And then Louis such a bitch. He's like, "And the honor of serving the Third Reich."
All right, bootlicker. But this is where we see what Laszlo's made of, and we see all that, what got him where he is, and all that adoration. He sure is a solid dude. So, no dice. And if you don't mind, I'll be leaving you a do or whatever.
But first, can I go talk to Ugarte? And they're like, "Well, he's dead." Like,
right,
okay.
right.
Okay, no problem.
Nothing to do with right. Like he's not very clandestine.
Now we finally get to see the Blue Parrot, the
Finally.
rival. You've been wondering the whole time, when am I going to get to the Blue Parrot?
It's Margaritaville, guys. I hate
It is Margaritaville.
There's no. I was like, oh, this is the daytime drinking place, and then the Rex is just the nighttime drinking place. It makes sense why this delightful man with the fez hat would like to own both.
Yeah. Senor Ferrari. He's runs the black market, runs the illegal trade in town. He's a rival to Rick.
Is he?
Yeah.
You'd think he'd be a bad dude. He's not. He's fine.
No.
He's just.
He'll fucking.
You don't know
pry
that.
off your fingernails if you cross him.
He seems delightful. He just has money. He's just a real estate guy. He's like, I just want to buy up some properties.
He'll have his underlings fucking sodomize you with a broom.
You haven't seen one underling.
He has underlings.
The parrot. Sodomy parrot.
This is Sidney Greenstreet. Again, this is maybe the best cast of all time. And Bogart, Sidney Greenstreet, and Peter Lorre were all in the Maltese Falcon the year prior. See our old episode on the Maltese Falcon.
See it.
In contrast to Rick, Ferrari is wearing a fez. He's to a degree like, I'm going to acclimate to my new surroundings. He offers Rick you have those letters of transit. I know you have the letters of transit. I'll buy them from you. And Rick's like, no. I don't have them. You have me confused, but maybe it was the bourbon. I just wrote down, he says bourbon really weird. He says bourbon.
Yeah, he does. He says it very weird.
But then he talks to Ilsa. It's like, I'm reasonably sober. We can have our talk now. You'll come back to me one day. I know you will. You'll leave Laszlo. And she says, no, he's my husband. You don't understand. He's my husband. Even when we were together in Paris, he's my husband. Mm-hmm. Rick's ex-girlfriend Yvonne is now dating a German soldier. And this doesn't go over well with a French soldier in the bar. And they get into a fight. And then Rick comes in and he breaks it up and he says, lay off politics. And this time I watched the movie and I was so struck by the use of the word politics that Rick keeps using. And politics here, it's literally like
leave your identity at the door.
Exactly.
You're in your uniform. Pretend you're not.
There's news about like a Florida law that's going to make it illegal for people to use driver's licenses that were already legally issued by the state that have genders that don't match their birth.
Oh my God.
So if you're a trans person who got a driver's license, like who transitioned, got a driver's license, well, it's like now you have to either go back to the DMV or you risk getting arrested for using an illegal driver's license. And it's like that trans person just trying to exist is like, stop being political, you could say to them. It's a way to dismiss everybody just trying to exist. Just a French soldier, just a German soldier, to just sort of dismiss it all as politics. But everything is politics.
Right.
Major Strasser thinks Renault is too wishy-washy. He's not supporting the Germans enough. And Renault's like, no, I have no conviction. Whichever side wins, I'm happy to support them.
Which is a funny thing to admit and totally get away with. Also, this waiter is delightful. I never noticed him before, but he takes care of Rick so much. He cares so much about the truly happy employees of this place are what tells you that Rick is sentimental and a good guy. Like, you just need to look at the company he keeps. Everyone's a sweetheart. Mm-hmm. Even the creepy bar guy that really wants Ivana is just like, I love you. Mm-hmm. I love you. I love you. It's like, well, what a way to be a creep. That's sweet. This is when, I don't really. Oh, Renault sends this desperate younger lady who just got married, who they do not have a lot of money, but they desperately need to get out of here. Renault sends her over to Rick to vouch for his character, right?
It's like, he must have said like, yeah, just have sex with me and I'll give you the letters.
I know what he said.
And
But
if you don't believe me, go ask Rick.
Right. If you made this arrangement with Renault, I'm sure he will want the sex, but he will give you. Mm-hmm. But she also wants Rick to like make her feel better about even considering doing it. And does it make her a bad wife, or does it make her the best wife ever? What do you think? And then the sweetest of sweethearts, Rick gets her out of that bind by taking her in the back where that doesn't sound right, but to go play roulette. But he's got this thing set up with the gamesman who runs the roulette wheel, that when I say bet it on 22, when I say it needs to win. So he has a mechanism to make it land on 22, and he does it twice for the husband of this young girl who's been playing at the roulette wheel, so that they win the amount of money, and a lot of money, that they need to not need Renault's sex deal.
And he does this. I like
does it very quickly.
The reason he does this is you could just see it on his face. She's talking to him and says, "You're a man. If a woman loved you so much that your happiness was the only thing she cared about in the world," and you see it in his face when he hears this, and he says, "No woman's ever loved me that much." He's like, I would like to see it. If not happen to me, I'd like to just see an example of this happening, of a couple being able to be happy
without this layer,
yeah,
without this sacrifice.
So he orchestrates it, and Carl is just like ooh.
What,
so
Carl
happy.
the waiter?
Carl the waiter,
who's polishing something right now in the middle of fucking.
And Laszlo goes up to Rick to have a word with him in his office, and he says, "Why
don't you ask your wife why I won't give you these papers?"
"I'm sorry. I said ask your wife."
And he says, "I don't have a wife." "Oh, yes, I do. You mean Ilsa? I'll go talk to her." I just wanted to do an accent or a voice. How was it?
Good.
Great. And then when he comes downstairs, he doesn't get to go straight to Ilsa. So you're not even really sure how that's going to go. He seems upset. He seems upset. He seems like he thinks something is up, but that's probably just us projecting that onto him. Like,
no, he hears.
I'm saying his antenna go up when Rick says, "Ask your wife." He seems like, okay, I need to have a talk with Ilsa. This is just a weird statement. I wonder what the hell. I have been noticing looks and some weirdness ever since we got here. I need to talk to her about that. But he hears the German freaking national anthem, I guess, is what they're singing. All the soldiers are just acting like it's a German bar, and they're just having a hell of a fucking time, and it is not the place. It is not appropriate. All these people are in transit and in this crazy place in their lives because of you. Don't sing your fucking song here, man.
One of the Germans is even at Sam's piano. They've taken over the piano.
But they didn't see there's a whole fucking band, you idiots. You didn't take the band. And so he's like, no, this is a neutral place. I have just as much of a right to sing my French anthem, a France anthem, if you will. And so I do. But before I do, Rick has to give the okay. Everyone looks to Rick. And Rick goes.
And he nods.
Do it. And then that's actually a very moving part. And people have tears in their eyes, and it's just like, I didn't even like the anthem until then.
It's, one of the great movie moments in the history of movies. It's like, I almost cry every time I watch it.
Pussy.
I know. But I've just really tuned into the politics this time. And this all starts in Rick's office when Laszlo is trying to persuade him, like, I'm fighting for a cause. I know you used to believe in shit. Why not try to help the cause? And Rick says, I'm not interested in politics. He says politics again. Politics is then like your country being conquered and subjugated. That's just politics to me.
Right. You're just picking a side. Your team blue, their team red. I don't need to pick a team.
And then Victor hears the Germans singing their song. And the song they're singing is not technically the German national anthem.
It's just some sort of like, let's get riled up because we won the war song.
So no, it was the anthem of the Second Reich. This is the Third Reich. So even... I read that like the screenwriters were aware that this was not, but they used this one for copyright issues or something.
Oh, okay.
But you can also read into it as like, these are like sort of nostalgic older military guys who are like, remember the 1870s?
When things were even more problematic somehow, but probably not. I don't know.
Oh, no. Things were better then.
Oh, okay.
The Second Reich. That was when Germany, the German Empire of 1871 to 1918. So he hears them singing this, and then he goes to the Rick's band. He says, play La Marseillaise, play it. And Laszlo, not even a Frenchman himself, he knows all the words to the French anthem and knows, he's like a politician. He knows how to play the crowd. And they all start singing it. And suddenly you're like, just asserting your national identity is now a political act, and like a radical political act. You know, when the national anthem gets played in front of sports games in America, people think of that as a neutral thing, but it's always political.
Yeah.
And you even pay attention to the words they're singing. The words of the French anthem are about the citizenry, the ordinary citizens of France, taking up arms and rising up to fight off the Germans who are invading after the French Revolution. So it's like even more specifically adversarial to the Germans, and that's what makes them shut down.
Right. Forgot
Shut
to say
down
that
the
part.
bar.
They shut Rick's down because what they were worried about is happening. That this guy is a born leader. He's a born rebel rouser. If we keep giving him a platform, and there's no bigger, better platform here than Rick's, then he will start a movement. We need to shut it down.
Even Yvonne, that hussy who was palling around with the German soldier.
Why is she a hussy?
Because she was with the German soldier.
God.
She's gone over to the enemy, but she hears the song, she's crying, and then it ends and she shouts, "Vive la France, vive la démocratie." It's just so goddamn good.
This is a really sweet and complicated conversation that Laszlo and Ilsa now have back at their room that they're in, where they figure out how to say exactly what happened while he was away at the concentration camp without saying anything at all. And he even hints as to give her permission for going to fix it, for going to finalize it, for going to, like, you didn't have closure. You seem like you need it. Why don't you go over there and do what you think feels right, and I will understand. Because this isn't, you're not this one night. You're my world. You're my life, you know, and we're going to go do something bigger and better after this. And if you need this to feel better and to be energized again, because you clearly zapped, woman, then that's for the cause too. And it makes sense. I just think it's really like modern. Oh, wait, I didn't say this part. But you could also read it as he's trying to go to a meeting. It's dangerous. It's like the last thing he should be doing. It's the underground, discussion or whatever. And he finds the shit wherever he goes. He can't help himself. And I know it's his life's mission, but it must be exhausting to be Ilsa and just be like, okay, you found a meeting. That's
Let me
fucking
guess,
super.
a meeting.
Okay, you might die.
Very
okay.
important.
I mean, they even make the comment a different time in the movie. They're like, yeah, I've read about your death 3 times in the paper. So he's been near death or it was needed to say he was dead 3 times. This is not a man that's easy to be around. It's not casual. They never have a vacation. There's no having children. Her life sucks. And here he goes again. Bye.
I noticed she never kisses him.
They always kiss on the cheek or the eye or something.
And she never tells him she loves him. Because it's like, if she did that, maybe you'd feel like she's betraying him too much. Or
just that she doesn't mean what she says.
I think it's like, it would be, people would have, the Hollywood execs would be worried, like, we can't have a woman literally being seen sincerely kissing and professing love for 2 different men. Mm-hmm. That reflects poorly on her character. Mm-hmm. But she goes to Rick's apartment. She tries to persuade him and then pulls a gun on him. And then Rick's like, shoot me. You'll be doing me a favor. I wonder if that's the first use of that phrase. But it doesn't work. And then she starts crying. And then you just see it on Bogart's face. He's won over. Suddenly he's sympathetic for her, seeing this woman who he has, hatred in his heart, but realizes it's not. I love her. I feel so terrible for her. And now they reconcile, and
she finally gets to tell him what happened.
Mm-hmm. Fade out, imply that they have sex, and then get dressed again immaculately. But she tells him, here's the timeline of events. I was with you. I was told my husband was dead. I was trying to move on with my life, and then you came along. And then Laszlo shows up in the bar, and Rick goes down to talk to him, and
while she's still up in the room,
mm-hmm.
and he finds a reason to get the waiter up to his room to help her get back to where she's got to go. But then he ends up saying she's up there anyway, right? Doesn't he end up telling her? Oh, okay.
He tells her that Rick tells Victor later.
Okay.
That what was going on.
Right.
And then Elsa said, like, you have to do the thinking for all of us. And so Rick, the chessman, has a master plan. I'm going to play everybody against everybody. Victor and Louis and Ilsa are all thinking I'm doing different things. Only I know what I'm up to. And yeah, he's just moving the people around. Victor's going to think he's leaving with Ilsa. Ilsa thinks I'm leaving with her. Louis thinks I'm leaving with Ilsa. Rick sells his cafe to Ferrari. You can tell he's a good guy because he's like, Sam gets 25% of the profits, and Sasha and Abdul and Carl, they all stay on staff. Everyone else, fuck them. Emil, I don't care. Go direct his movies. And Louis comes to arrest Victor, and then Rick's like, not so fast, Louis. There'll be no arrest tonight, at least not yet. They go to the airport, most famous scene in movie history, airport finale goodbye between them. It is most of it's great when Rick says to Ilsa, like, I've got a job to do now and our problems don't mean shit.
Hill of Beans.
Someday you'll understand that. I feel like she does.
Yeah,
she understands
patronizing.
It.
Right.
She's like, yeah, she's younger than you, but she's also lived through all this, through the war, through husband in concentration camp. Like, I think she knows. But yeah, telling her, like, we may want to do this right now, but we will regret it one day. To quote Jimmy Eat World, to bring them up again, here's to living in the moment because it passed.
This whole thing is so layered that I don't know what I really I wonder if Rick isn't as in love with her as he thought he was, or he just sees that this is, I don't know what he sees. I can't tell if I believe in the reason why he sends her with Laszlo. I always bought it, but I don't know. Maybe he likes the life he has, or I don't know.
He has been brought back to the cause. I don't know what specific thing persuaded him that, like, I've had my head in the sand. I've thought I can just go along and accept the new world, accept a world where Germany conquers, where the Nazis are in charge, and I'll make my profit any way I can on that.
Like,
I can't do that anymore.
Right, I'm moving on.
I know what's right. I know that, and I know I have this unspecified past as a soldier of fortune or a gun runner or whatever. I can give my services to the Allies and help defeat them and try to build a better world.
And I'm going to go live a life so similar to Laszlo's that you might as well stay with him. You're not going to be any more comfortable or safe with me.
Well, they're going to America.
You're going to destabilize Laszlo, who is already doing good things.
Yes. Your guys are going to go to America. I can't go to America. You'll be safe there. He'll be safe there writing pamphlets and stuff, and you'll get to be a celebrity's wife. Major Strasser shows up, and Rick shoots him in the gut, and he collapses, and you think Louis is about to turn him in, but then Louis tells the new cops that show up, round up the usual suspects. He's had his own transformation, seeing Rick's political awakening. Now he has a political conscience, and symbolized by him throwing down the Vichy water.
But it also gels their bond. Like, I didn't know if you'd give me up in the right circumstances, you'd sell me out, wouldn't you, Louis? And Louis definitely thought the same thing about Rick, and they both kind of proved that their loyalty to each other in that moment, and fall in love.
And seeing Rick did made the sacrifice.
I know.
I know, Matt.
God.
What do you know?
I don't know. Tell me.
Rick did all of this with the understanding, after all of this is done, I'm going to be thrown in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
And Louis sees that and is, like, really impressed and moved by that.
Right. You already sold your shit. Like, you really don't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
This is it.
So I want to be with somebody like that.
Right.
We're going to go off to Brazzaville together to the Free French Garrison.
I blow where the wind goes because I don't feel like anyone has my back. So I'm going to go where I feel like I'm the most safe. And I just realized I might be safe with you. I already like you. Sexy piece.
I found this so moving because...
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Because, again, neutrality. You think neutrality is a neutral act. You think, what difference can I make by, I don't know, speaking my mind about something or expressing support for a marginalized cause, or what difference can I make? Well, the difference that you can make is you can persuade somebody else. You can be an example that somebody else sees and inspires them to be brave, as happens with Louis and Rick. Louis sees Rick doing this, and now it's like, my country of France has been taken over by Germans. I'm not going to stand for that anymore, even though I was living a comfortable life. I'm going to go fight them too.
Yeah, the discomfort just keeps coming to their door. That they can't get away from it, even if they found a way to do something profitable because of it. Right. The blood's on their hands. And the only thing you can do make up for it is to stop letting that happen.
It's not neutral. By not acting, I'm letting the Germans have their way. Yeah.
Got it. And then the sweetest line of all is that I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, or I'm not saying that exactly right, but it's like, Rick doesn't talk like that. Rick's not a sweetie like that. Yes, he is. Once he loves you, he loves Louis. They're going to go have the best bisexual relationship you've ever seen.
Yeah, he dropped the veneer. This is what I'm actually like. I say things like, "You're my beautiful friend."
You'll never guess what's under this trench coat. Love. Yay.
And as many people have joked, where are they walking? Why are they walking out onto the
well, they don't
runway?
have a car.
Yeah, but they're walking out into the where the planes.
Maybe they have a plane.
Yeah. Maybe they're going to a plane. I don't know. It's great.
A boat.
And
that was they fade to black. It's a way of fading to black without fading to black. So I'm just saying they fuck.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That's a fuck.
Final thoughts and star rating for Casablanca 1942, Lacey.
I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd. That's what I give it here. It's
nice.
I don't give 5s out often. I'd be a fool not to. It's layered. You see something and learn. They don't just tell you. They tell you lots of things that are misdirections, that are coded. And I don't know. I like a movie where there's something to discover because there's so much going on the whole time. And I'm only on my second and a half, third watch. So I know that there's more to learn.
It really rewards coming back to it again and again. And I've seen it so many times, and this time it's not like I saw new details, but it's now like things are standing out to me in a different way than they used to, and things will happen in the world that suddenly make you hear lines differently. 5 stars for me, one of the best movies of all time, one of my all-time favorite movies. We know our 13-year-old child was going to watch the movie with us and then didn't. Do you think that they would have liked it?
It is a lot to take in, and I don't think our 13-year-old is ready to not look at their phone. It's not that they are capable, but are they willing?
And I didn't want to say that at the time, but I was like, let's give you a few more years.
You have to pay attention. You have to know a little bit more about politics, maybe. But I don't know. They're not ready.
Here's what I do know, is that you should give us 5 stars on iTunes and Spotify. Not 1, not 2,
the whole
not 3,
9.
not 4.
Give us all 5.
As we always say, we end every episode by saying that. We also say to follow us on our social medias, and that includes YouTube, social media YouTube.
Here's looking at our vids. Here's looking at you, kid.
Here's looking at you, vid.
But here's you
it's
looking
good,
at our
yes.
vid.
Wait. I need a laugh button for you.
Carry on.
Load-Bearing Pod on Twitter.
You don't have to say the dots when you say TikTok. You just search Load-Bearing Beams Podcast.
Okay. Load-Bearing Beams on Instagram as well. I'm on Letterboxd at Matt Stokes 9.
And I'm on Letterboxd at Load-Bearing Lacey.
I have a band called Rural Route 9. Rural Route 9.
Rural.
And we do the music on Load-Bearing Beams, the theme song and the interstitial music. And you can hear all of our you can hear our album, which is called The Joy of Averages, on Spotify and wherever else you get your music.
Or
check
live,
it out, please.
If you pay us to come out.
If you pay.
I play the tambourine, and I also play the vocals on one song. So fly us out.
You will at least get me in Lacey.
Bat mitzvah. Yep.
Do bat mitzvahs.
Only.
That's it for us, Load-Bearing Beams. Okay. I'm Matt Stokes.
I love you. Bye.
Three, 4. Everybody, Load-Bearing Beams, Load-Bearing Beams, Load-Bearing Beams, Load-Bearing Beams,